The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy.
You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. Today is June 27th, 2018. This week, mini brains and biohacked to death. My name's Basil.
And this is Gonz. Welcome to the podcast where we talk news with Canary Cry views. Basil, I just got back from Red Pill Expo.
Yes, you did. You were busy getting radicalized into domestic terrorism, if you believe the FBI.
Oh yeah, the report. I guess there was a local news report that called the whole event extremists and whatnot. But you know,
yeah, you're a bold man.
Yeah,
you're a bold man sharing a space with all those extremists.
Yeah, well, it was a really bad call. They actually had the merch row, all the tables with all the people and the stuff in the same room as the stage. So if I had a criticism of the event, don't put the merch stuff tables and everything in the same room as the lectures.
How could they?
It was a really bad idea.
That's very funny. Well, did you talk to anybody cool?
Yeah, I got to meet Kent Lewis from Freedom Currency. That was a pretty cool guy.
Yeah, very cool.
Hung out with David Morgan, a Silver Guru. Robert Kiyosaki.
Oh, that guy. He just followed us on Instagram.
Yeah.
So we're pretty
good
cool.
Dude. Tom DeWeese. There was a lot of people I got to meet and hang out with. It was great.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, if anybody wants to hear more about that, we're certainly going to be releasing a couple of pieces of media about it. But first of all, Gonz, you and I are going to get together. We're going to have a Canary Cry conversation. That's right. It's yet another program that you and I are doing. That is actually the bonus podcast for those who head over to patreon.com/Canary Cry Radio. That's right. If you haven't heard yet, we started a Patreon for Canary Cry Radio specific, and you can get Canary Cry Radio related rewards for that. So head on over there if you want to get that. We're going to be, Gonz is going to tell us all about the Red Pill Expo and what we can expect to happen as a result. Like his swift and immediate arrest. And as always, you can head over to patreon.com/CCNT, where immediately after this episode, you will have a bonus episode of Canary Cry News Talk, where we will be talking about the Raelians. We'll be talking about some more robots, guaranteed. And we have our adult section coming up on that one, so maybe don't let the kids listen to that extended report. But that's not what we're here about today, Gonz. I want to give you an update on our very favorite robot friend, Flippy, the burger flipping robot.
All right,
now,
Flippy.
Yes, that's right. We've been tracking Flippy. Flippy, as everybody knows, is the famous burger flipping robot from Cali Burger over there in California. He was tested and then brought out again and is doing a wonderful job. Actually, a listener. Oh man, I should have his name. We have a listener who actually ate a Flippy burger.
Ooh, really?
And yes, absolutely.
Oh, we need a report.
Oh, actually, yes. Okay, hold on. I'm going to pull it up because it was actually a member of our Discord channel over on patreon.com/CCNT. You can get access to our Discord channel. And there, one of those members is the one who told us, and I will give the report. I'm stalling now. There's a lot more activity than I expected. Where is it? Shoot, I can't find it. I think it's Coin King. I think. Anyways, okay, on with the show. Sorry if I got whoever had Flippy Burger wrong. I will get that and fix it. But yes, so he says the Flippy Burgers are good. He was a fan. Robots make a mean burger. Simple, but effective.
Nice.
Yes, but okay, Flippy update. Here's the thing with Flippy guns, and I don't want to give the wrong impression because, sometimes it can get a little mixed up. Flippy does not have artificial intelligence, okay? Flippy is just a regular old run-of-the-mill burger flipping robot from the future.
Analog.
Here to feed us our pap and keep us alive. But here's the thing. No longer is Flippy number one in the food preparation robot business. That's right. Now, straight from Japan, we have Osato. Yes, the bento box packing robot Osato. He is able to, he has artificial intelligence. He learns from the food that he picks up and packs into a box. And he needed this artificial intelligence because his main thing he packs is fried chicken, which comes in all sorts of different shapes and sizes and consistencies. And Osato is able to recognize those different types of fried chicken and pick them up effectively without squishing the chicken, without letting the chicken slip betwixt his robot fingies. So yes, we are. This is, we actually, I don't want anybody to get confused because we talk a lot about robots. We talk a lot about artificial intelligence. But as up to now, artificial intelligence has actually not made its way into actual robots very often or effectively. There are people trying to put artificial intelligence in robots, sort of marry those two technologies. But as this article states, they have trouble picking up apples. They can't open doors. It's just not very good. But now, Osato, it's not a revolution just for robots, but for AI. So there you go. We have the next step. The next stepping stone until our robot overlords. Good thing they're just arms now.
Yeah.
So we can just take like 2 steps away and he can't rip out our hearts.
Yeah. Just to comment briefly on it, they appeal to the theory of evolution, as always, as sort of an analogy that, AI is evolving to the stage of embodiment now. So there you go. It's very spiritual, it's
got to be biblical.
And we have another soundboard thing I see. That's very nice.
Speaking of the beast system.
Speaking of the beast system, Gons, biohacker martyrs. Independent.co.uk is reporting live forever or die trying. Meet the biohackers who fear their work could get them killed. That's right. We've been following the biohacking phenomenon. And here is a report from independent.co.uk on the morning of the 29 April, which is the most British thing I've ever said. Staff at the Soleil Spa in Washington, D.C. discovered the lifeless body of one of its clients lying face down in a sensory deprivation tank. Have you ever done those, Gons?
No, I have not.
Neither have I. I've thought about it.
Yeah, definitely curious, but definitely strange. And I have my opinions about the phenomenon itself. But go ahead.
Certainly.
Yeah.
For those who are not in the know, sensory deprivation tanks are basically small, dark pods. Sometimes they're kind of rooms that you have heavily salinated water, so you float. And it's like body temperature, so it's basically meant to sort of get rid of all your senses, so you can't really feel anything. You're not laying on a bed. You're sort of floating. It's very quiet and it's very dark. And this is meant to give your senses a rest, so your mind can go off and do whatever it wants to do. A lot of people use it for relaxation or thinking. Some people use it to astral travel the universe. Moving on in the article here, the body was that of 28-year-old Aaron Treywick, who less than 3 months earlier had injected himself live on stage at an Austin event in Texas. At an event in Austin, Texas, with an untested gene therapy that he claimed could cure herpes. Stories soon spread about the discovery of Treywick's body, with some inferring a potential link between the DIY herpes treatment and his untimely death. But those who knew the young entrepreneur and were familiar with the work he did suspected something much more sinister. Trawick was part of a fringe but steadily growing community known as body hackers or biohackers. These whose modest goal is to cure disease, end aging, and ultimately stop death. Quote, "Why this test is so important," he said on stage in Austin just before injecting himself in the leg with the therapy, quote, "is because if we succeed with herpes in even the most minor of ways, then we can move forward immediately with cancer." Was he admitting publicly on stage that he had herpes?
You know, I get the feeling that this was the mission behind this might have been a little more personal than he's leading on here.
oh, I'm sorry, Trawick. To get around costly and slow drug approval processes with authorities such as the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, biohackers like Mr. Trawick are willing to test experimental therapies on themselves. But in their bid to accelerate humanity's transition to a future outside of natural evolution, some within the community fear powerful entities may be out to get them. Uh-oh, Gons. Sounds like these biohackers are as crazy as us. Quote, "I immediately thought of an FDA conspiracy theory when I heard Aaron was found dead. Zoltan Istvan, a noted futurist who is currently the libertarian candidate for governor of California, tells The Independent. Quote, "Our medical system is not one to find cures, but to keep people alive as long as possible while sick, to make money off of them." Wow, something Zoltan and I can agree on.
Yeah.
Both Istvan and Trawick worked together in 2015, 2016 for the Transhumanist Party. I'm going to skip this one, just kind of tells their background together. So let's take a little break here while we talk about this. So this guy, which this has kind of become, I don't know, maybe not a phenomenon that is synonymous with the transhumanist sort of movement or the biohackers, but definitely one you see quite a bit, and maybe it contains this characteristic just on a fundamental level, and that is they're very sensational when they are doing a new biohack, or such as Aaron here, when they're getting a new gene therapy or something. They're very out in the open and making a statement about it.
Yeah.
As we've discussed before, transhumanism is often sort of used as protest to a lot of different things, and in this case, the pharmaceutical industry.
Yeah, it's very interesting because it is a political movement, but it's also got a spiritual aspect to it, at least from our perspective. I would say that it's a clear spiritual message of humanistic ideals, but
transhumanistic.
Well, yeah,
ideals.
Transhumanistic, which is the hyper humanism.
Yeah.
But I find it interesting that they too adhere to the conspiracy theory that, a conspiracy theory that I guess we would agree with at large, that there's some powerful people with high up in the medical and the pharmaceutical industries who are keeping people sick in order to continue the medication industry going and perpetuate that cycle and live off the people. Sure, I think that's going on. It's a huge industry. A lot of people are on medication, and that's obviously true. I find it interesting though that they are trying to use that same technology to liberate themselves. When in actuality, their transhumanist goals go much further than that. They don't really tell you that now, but if you look at their manifesto and stuff, it's much more than just curing diseases and whatnot.
No, yeah, I mean, they're pretty outspoken about their
goals of ascension,
ideas, right? That they can, with technology's help, they can transcend what human beings were ever meant to be, whether created or evolved.
Right.
I mean, both evolution or creationism, they're kind of like saying neither are good enough. We will create ourselves.
Right. It's the "we are gods" mindset.
Yeah. Aaron was a transhumanist star, and his escapades had pushed him into the public eye, Isfan says. Can you imagine what would happen to Big Pharma if transhumanists like Aaron are in charge? We might arrive at a day when there is no disease and no death, and that makes someone like him very dangerous. Let's see here. They go in a little bit more about some of the other escapades that he's been on, but the FDA refused to comment on the conspiracy theory claims that they would have anything to do with his death, and they gave out a public report stating the FDA is aware that gene therapy products intended for self-administration and do-it-yourself kits to produce gene therapies for self-administration are being made available to the public. Should we get our hands on one of those? Just for research purposes, Guns. Just for kangaroo leg purposes.
Yeah, no. I'm not gonna approve that buy.
The sale of these products are against the law. The FDA is concerned about safety and risks involved. The Washington spa where Treywick died, which describes itself on its website as a relaxing space for rejuvenation and transcendence, also declined to comment on the circumstances of his death. But the Metropolitan Police Department of Columbia said in a statement that there was no evidence to suggest foul play. A cousin of Treywick told the New York Times that police found the drug ketamine in his pockets.
Ooh. Isn't that a horse tranquilizer?
I don't know, but it's been in the news lately about being extremely dangerous. And the article actually then goes into, for a few paragraphs here, which I will truncate for time, that there was another conspiracy theory because Treywick actually, even in biohacker circles, kind of made some enemies. Apparently, he likes to use the word cure, which biohackers try not to use because once you start claiming to have a cure for something, the FDA has a legal right to kind of
it's just
tamper.
It's just not a smart move, it sounds like.
Right, just not a smart move. And, he made some enemies in the other biohacker spaces for one reason or another. So there's also conspiracy theories. Keep in mind, this is on independent.co.uk. This is not some fringe website. This is a mainstream news website talking about conspiracy theories about the FDA and with, other biohackers. And that may not seem too wacky now here in 2018, because apparently that's chill. But in the past, even if these conspiracy theories exist, mainstream media would never even suggest that there was an alternate theory than the official story.
Yeah.
So this is really fascinating that these types of things are being reported.
I guess there's got to be something to be said about the line there. Neither of them have a background in biology or medicine, or these guys being quoted here, and the biohacking people. I don't know. Is it naive to think that these folks who are doing it outside of the whole academic structures are, they should try to at least stay within the legal realm if they're going to try to do this stuff? Or do you think this culture?
I don't think they're very concerned.
I know, but do you think this culture of doing it rogue is going to grow and become more and more radical? This guy just died trying to fix his herpes, but next time it might be they found a guy dead and he was turned into half rodent or something.
A snake growing out of his forehead. Well, here's the thing. I don't think they really care that much about the law. I think they consider themselves rebels, just fundamentally. And I don't think that they're going to, that this is going to have much of an issue as far as the experiments that they're doing. I think that the conspiracy theory is more prevalent than this article leads on. I think other biohackers are going to buy into the conspiracy theory, either that it was another biohacker or an FDA agent.
Right.
Mainly because psychologically, that will let them continue their work.
Yeah.
I think when faced with sort of the cognitive dissonance of like, oh, this is super dangerous and illegal, and that one guy died, I should probably chill. I think believing that the FDA is the one who did it, and maybe they did. It totally makes sense to me that the FDA or some sort of big pharma agency would, what a perfect place to take somebody out.
Yeah, especially if they had something that was more effective than what they sold.
A small noise canceling little pod that you can just slip like if it's Indiana Jones, you just slip a little eel in there and the eel gets him. Or, whatever. You could gas him in there. You could do anything.
Speaking of the beast system, it's gotta be biblical.
Speaking of the beast system, Gons, what's next?
Unlocking prehistoric genetics, California scientists successfully grow Neanderthal mini brains.
What?
This is RT.com. And it says here, an exhibit shows the life of a Neanderthal family in a cave in the new Neanderthal Museum. There's a little picture here. Scientists no longer need a time machine to study Neanderthal cognitive abilities after a group of geneticists managed to successfully create miniature Neanderthal brains.
What?
Yeah, a group of geneticists at the University of California, San Diego, led by Professor Alison Muotri, conducted a breakthrough experiment engineering miniature pea-sized versions of the Neanderthal brain. The results of this unprecedented experiment were presented at June's UCSD conference called Imagination and Human Evolution.
Wow. That's incredible.
Sorry, I was a little late on the hit there, but
that's crazy. It's like instead of dinosaurs, we're going to have Neanderthal Park.
Oh, just wait for it. It gets even crazier.
Okay.
This is the kind of article that you would read in a comic book of like some kid reading, of like what's coming,
Okay.
According to Muotri, his team has infused human stem cells with Neanderthal DNA that they extracted from the fossilized remains to artificially grow mini brains that mimic the cerebral cortex, the outer layer of real brains. According to Professor Muotri, the brain activity of these tiny so-called organoids should be similar to that in our brains and should give us some idea about the core differences between human and Neanderthal brain and how they process information and feelings. There is at least... That's weird.
Why do we need to know that?
I don't know. Okay, this gets more bizarre as the article goes on. There is at least one more team working to create Neanderthal mini brains, this one at the Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology in Leipzig, Germany. The institute's director, Professor Svante Pabo, says we're way off from resurrecting an actual living Neanderthal, but the mini brains could unlock a lot of mysteries. What the scientists are hoping to understand is how the long-extinct creatures planned, socialized, and used language. But according to Professor Paabo, it is nearly impossible to state with any degree of certainty that that the organoids will be able to, quote, to tell us how adult brains function. Muorti's team has so far revealed that neurons in the so-called neanderoids make fewer synaptic connections, creating what resembles an abnormal neuronal network in the brains of children with autism. The geneticist is very cautious about any statements, saying that he wouldn't want families to jump to conclusions, thinking his team is comparing autistic kids to Neanderthals. Oh, no. Quote, but it's an important observation, he says. Muotri has already, get this, the last part. Muotri has already developed human organoids and is working to hook them to little robots and have them control their functions. He hopes that the next step would be pitting those robots against Neanderthal brain-controlled ones. Basil, what the heck is going on in these science laboratories?
I don't know, but I want to know what grant this guy applied for because I need some of that.
I have an in. I have an in
from the Red Pill Expo.
No.
You can get me a grant to make Neanderthal robots fight each other because what are we doing podcasting?
Seriously. No, I have a close relative that is
Neanderthal.
quite possibly actually. No, but is a part of some of the administration at UCSD there. So, I mean, if I don't know how much I can get, but I, potentially can start digging into like who's this guy, this professor here, Allison Muotri, and
get us on the team, buddy. They need us. Now, here's the thing that's really going to come up. I'm calling it right now, making more Basil predictions here. Well, we can make a whole segment called Basil's Bingos. Bingo. Okay, we'll workshop that one. This is going to be a huge human rights issue.
Yep.
These Neanderthal brains are going to have a lot of social justice warriors in their corner, and soon we're going to have tiny little Neanderthal brains who are going to be considered people, and or at the very least living animals. And
what about when they're in little robots?
Yeah, and how are they going to vote, Gons? These are the tough questions we ask here on Canary Cry News Talk. So this is crazy. I mean, this is one we got to keep track of because we reported on the organoids, and that was disturbing enough. But yeah, doing it with actual brains. I mean, who's to say that there's not some sort of consciousness in there going on right now?
Yeah,
little Neanderthal consciousness.
I don't understand how. I mean, I know there are ethical restrictions to like certain stem cell research and things like that. Is it just like benign if it's brain tissue and not like a functional or not functional, but like an organ, more like I guess it is an organ, like a heart or a liver or something like that?
I would assume that a brain is going to be the tinder that the sparks catch on, that the human rights people or the personhood argument. You know what's going to happen too.
What's going to happen. All the abortion arguments are going to be used against them. They're going to say, well, you guys say that killing babies is wrong. Well, now you have this. We have Neanderthal flesh that we created in a laboratory.
Yeah. Well,
how can you
knows?
say?
I mean,
your double standard, your hypocrisy. How can you say that this isn't a living thing? That is going to be used against pro-lifers. That we're calling that one too.
Okay. All right. There we go. We
Good
got
news.
2 called shots, baby.
News.
And the rapture is going to happen on January 20. No, okay. We won't call that date. No, that's very spooky. So we're going to keep an eye on that. I think the fact that it is brain tissue is going to create a lot of issues as we move forward, or as those scientists move forward. And Gons, you and I are going to get our own robot Neanderthal fighting grant, and I don't know, we'll make a TV show or something with it.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
It's gotta be biblical.
That's right, everybody. Y'all got friends who are still watching that mainstream media. Get them on over here to the Canary Cry News Talk team. Let them know that we're talking about the real important issues here, Neanderthal brains. And if they want to track that, just send them a little link. Also, leave us a rating and a review on iTunes or whatever podcasting thing you are using. It really, really helps the iTunes artificial intelligence to share us with other people. Don't forget our Canary Cry News Talk Patreon, patreon.com/CCNT, where we will be continuing the conversation right now. Thanks for listening to the Canary Cry News Talk. Make sure to tune in next time. But until then, think outside the cage.